Shall you brew your tea with a strainer or without it? In this video, we do together a little experiment to find out which is the difference. Hi guys, this is Gabriele from nannuoshan, where we share the pleasure of drinking and discovering genuine farm tea. Today we do together a little experiment to find out whether you should use a strainer or not. Before getting into the details, I want to tell you how I'm setting everything up so that if you at home would like to do the experiment along with me, you can just go ahead and do that. So I have basically two different sets here for brewing the same tea in two different ways. One with a strainer and one without. I have two guy ones, identical guy ones if possible. If you don't use guy ones and you want to go for a larger tea bowl, that's perfectly fine. You just go ahead with the method you usually do for your tea with your tea. The important thing is that you will brew both in the same way. Then I have two pitchers and two cups. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to start now, and since I want to brew both tea in exactly the same way, except for the fact that in one I will strain the tea and the other case not, I will use a timer. I have here a green tea, I will tell you in a second more about that, but let me first start with the first brew. I'll do a minute. I have 2.5 grams of green leaves and I will brew them without a lid. I wait a little time, so they are really exactly the same time later on when I brew them out. And here we are. The tea is xiangcha, which is a fairly affordable green tea from Tieguanyin. This is from this year harvest, from the spring harvest. So it's very fresh tea, but not a super fancy one. And let's see how they compare. You can go ahead and say with the tea you have at home. It's important really that you find out according to your palate and according to the tea you have and your brewing method if there is a difference or not. If you cannot spot the difference, whatever. If there is a difference, then you want to, judge if there is just a tiny difference and you don't care, or maybe you care a lot about that. I have a minute here, so I will proceed now with the first one. There we go, with the strainer, and then I wait exactly the same time for the other, another minute here, and here we go. So what you can see, I'm not sure you can see that through the camera, I can see very clearly here that on this side I have also some small species of leaves that actually go through. I'm using here a natural strainer that is a very fine grid. You can go also with metal strainers like this one, the one depending what you have at home. I have another natural one with a very, very fine grid here. Maybe I'll use that later on, let's see. So whatever strainer you have at home. And we do a first sip and see how they compare. As said here, I clearly see that there are a little bit more impurity. There are some leaves on the bottom here without the strainer, and here is very clean. There are no leaves at all. So a little sip of this and a little sip of that. I start with the strainer one. A lot of umami, very rich. A little buttery. And let's see the other one. Fairly similar. I cannot say there is a difference. Fairly similar, and that makes sense because we just brew 1 minute in the same condition and we just pour out the tea. So we'll have to wait a little bit and see what happens while we wait and give tea time to develop in the glass. Tea will develop in the glass, in particular green tea, no matter how, if it was steeped or poured out with a strainer or not, it will develop for sure, but might develop in a different way. I have though also other two Tieguanyins here that I've already prepared with two additional tea that I will brew later on, or maybe in parallel, let's see. These are, this is a traditional Tieguanyin. It's a traditional Tieguanyin that by the time I'm actually recording this video is not yet online. Traditional means that it's not too green, but it's also not the roasted one. So it's kind of relatively green, but so the leaves actually looks fairly green, or maybe dark green in a way, but it is nonetheless not, a little bit more oxidized than the very modern style that are out there. 3 grams of leaves here, and I will do a comparison also with the Tieguanyin, so that we don't have only a green tea, but we have also another, in this case the oolong, and we can maybe draw some conclusions. Steeping those teas in both ways for the first time, and although I have an experience in brewing tea with strainer and without strainer, I'm doing this experiment with you for the first time. So I really don't know if I will be able to spot the difference or not. I turned up the temperature to 90 degrees, or actually I could do even 100. Just I will need 100 degrees anyway for the Tieguanyin. So maybe I just push the green tea even more in the second steep and see if that makes also a difference. Just to put a few more parameters and a few more changes in the round. Yeah. So we go for another steep of these. Sorry, seep. And see if we have a difference now. I go the other way around. This one is the one without the strainer. I have to say, it doesn't change much. Very similar. Of course, I could wait much longer, but we will wait much longer just for a next tip. What I will do now, this is 100 degrees. I take 2 other pictures, and I will show you in a second why. I wasn't planning to do this, but since they are not far, we can do that. Put them here on the side, put them here. A lot of teaware. So this, what I'll do now, I will pour away this green tea. I will do another brew of the green tea for, let's do a bit shorter, I'll do 45 seconds, but at 100 degrees. I said I want to push a little bit this green tea even more and see what comes out. There are occasions in which I indeed brew green tea at really 100 degrees. Either sometimes because it's just a mistake, or sometimes because I know that the tea can sustain that, or sometimes I'm really looking for some strength in my green tea, and then I'll go for it. So it's worth checking. So we said 45 seconds, yeah, another 5 seconds and see how it turns out. And now maybe let's speak about why do you want really to use a strainer or not. You know, okay, one thing is that if there is a difference or not, but you could say, well, if I'm not sure, I'll just go for a strainer and there should be no difference, right? I just use it and I'm good with that. But sometimes the strainer can also kind of move away the focus of your tea session, right? Is anyway something on the way here that you have to keep on moving on the side and moving back. So if you want to have a more minimal style and more concentrate yourself on the tea, you might actually just want to get rid of your strainer. But then at the same time, it's also a lot about details when you prepare tea. So taking care about all small details can really improve just tiny step at a time the quality of your brew. So on one side you have, do I really want to have the strainer because with heat is just I cannot really focus 100% on the tea, or maybe if I have the strainer, even if I can concentrate that much on the tea, it brings me out anyway a better taste. So it really depends. So now we have this 100 degrees. I'm curious to see how this tea, let's say it's fairly affordable, react to a high temperature brew. And while I'm doing that, I will start, if I have enough water, that should be, I will start brewing also the Tieguanyin. I'll do a minute to start because it is still rolled, although it's not rolled very tightly. And let's say this one. And at the same time, the green tea cools down a little bit. See, we brew at 100 degrees. I don't want to burn my fingers and my tongue. I check, I put the same amount of water, and we're good to go. Okay. So while this is steeping, I'll try this tea. On this side we have the strainer. A tiny bit of bitterness, but not much. We do 1 minute here. I move this aside and I get ready for the Tieguanyin. So the green tea has a little bit of bitterness, but not too much. It certainly have lost some aroma, so I wouldn't brew this tea really at 100 degrees for sure. It's no more that aromatic and refreshing as it was before. It's got a little bit too much strength. Yeah, here we are with the other one. And also here I see some little pieces of leaves floating around. Not sure you can see that. It's kind of difficult, but yeah, you can try. So I say that the green tea already with the strainer has lost because of the 100 degrees. Let's see how it is on this side. Yeah, very similar. What we do now, and this is why actually I wanted 2 sets of pictures, we leave the green tea here for a while. We leave it for a while until the end, and at the very end we try it again. So we give him a little bit time to see how it develops. On one side without, so with the strainer means without pieces of leaves inside, and on this side there are some pieces of leaves. Quite a few actually, yeah? So we leave that here on the side. Alright. I wanted to use the other strainer, but I forgot, never mind. So now we go with the Tieguanyin. So as you see, the brew is very pale actually, yeah? So still fairly green. That fresh iron taste. The taste of Tieguanyin is so unique. A little milky as well, yeah, it's really nice. Wow, very similar actually, I have to say, yeah. So far not really much change here, and as you have noticed, the quantity, I'm looking always at the quantity of leaves inside the picture because it's that actually contributes to the evolution of the tea later on. And now, by tasting the tea straight after the pouring, you won't notice much a difference, that's for sure. I'm trying with 2 different teas. I'm sure if I take a third one, I won't notice as well. But sometimes the tea stays in the picture for a while. And that's particularly true if you're actually using a big teapot, in which you may leave the leaves for 5 minutes and then you pour them in a jar, and then it takes some time to drink up that jar, or maybe in a large mug. That's why I want here to wait a little bit and see if I notice a difference. But if at that point I won't notice a difference, then the answer is fairly clear. We should not sell any more strainers because there are no reason for using them. And please, if you're doing this experiment at home, while commenting below the video, please point out which tea you have used, how you have brewed it. Yeah, give us any possible details, because that helps. It's not only these two teas, for every viewers and readers out there, then they can get also your opinion and your experience, and tell us if you have noticed a difference or not. Tell us, myself and everyone else watching, whether we should use a strainer in your opinion with the specific tea or not. And you know what? In the meantime, I'll show you a little bit the leaves. So this is, we say, this traditional Tieguanyin. Let's have a look. Now that's the green tea. Here's the Tieguanyin. So let's start showing you the leaves then of the green tea. Here you are. So as you see, they are fairly large. Yeah, they are not too small. And this is the traditional Tieguanyin. Oh yeah. It still, despite being so green, it still makes for me quite a difference in the... I'm not sure it's able to focus this. Trying out. Doesn't really want to focus this. Well, it's still much darker than many other Tieguanyin, yeah. Although it's green, and you don't see a lot of the oxidation on the leaves, but the whole leaves is a bit darker. So we were saying, let's have a look at the taste evolution and comparing the color of the two. Not sure there is a difference. Very hard. Maybe this is a bit more yellow in this, but very hard to say. So with the strainer, and this is without. I'll start with the strainer. You know what, now that's cooled down, it's even better than before. Less bitter, strangely. Yeah. Yeah, there is a difference now. It's not major, but there is a difference. Like when I drank this tea, I thought, well, it's fairly good, you know. It's just as a general feeling. I really like the taste of the tea, and when I swap to this one, it's not so much the bitterness. It's more the astringency, and it's like a furry texture, furry feeling on my palate that is less pleasant. Yeah. Yeah. So those leaves inside the pitcher that are keep on brewing in the pitcher make some change, and it has been just 5 minutes, right? What happens if I leave it there for 10 or 15? Not much, just a little bit. Oh yeah, this is way better. It's more notable when you start first with the one without the strainer, and then you switch to the one with the strainer. It's fairly different there. Well, I will leave that, you know, just now it's time. Just a tiny bit of water inside, so that's even exacerbate the effect of the leaves on the brewing. This now has been sitting for a little bit longer. Let's see. I have to say that in the Tieguanyin, the leaves are cleaner. I don't have a lot of leaves inside. It's more many little pieces that I have inside. So I'll do the starting with this one here without the strainer. It's good. In this case, even this one is a tiny bit weaker actually. It's like those little pieces that are still brewing there are not bringing out really a bad taste. It's just enriching a little bit the taste, in my opinion, in this case. So all in all, what I would say here, my conclusion out of these two teas that I've tasting is that if you do your tea Gonfu style and you tend to drink it up very quickly, like, you know, pitcher, and then you serve other person that is gone in the cup and will be drunk soon, then it doesn't really matter if you have a strainer or not. If it is a more slow paced session and you are drinking maybe just by yourself or just maybe you and another person, so it takes a while to drink up the whole pitcher, then you might consider a strainer. It may vary from tea to tea. If you have a tea that has a lot of little pieces, yeah, and maybe you keep the opening of the gaiwan too much open, then you get a lot of leaves falling in the pitcher, and that will speed up the change of the tea. If, like in this case, I have leaves that are very clean, there is not much powder and particles in there, and probably I even kept the opening of the gaiwan a tiny bit smaller than what I did on this side, at the end I don't have a lot of impurities, let's call, in my pitcher, and so that will not affect the taste of the tea very quickly. So that's my conclusion here. If you prefer to avoid a strainer, it might be worth it to really watch out at the gap of your gaiwan. Keep it as close as possible while still allow a flow, of course. And if you don't care much whether to use a strainer or not, because it's not bothering you, then going with the strainer is certainly the safer choice. I hope you have enjoyed this little video. I hope you do the experiment yourself at home, and if so, comments below, let us know your results. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you enjoy what you liked, and go ahead to subscribe the channel if you haven't done it so, because you know, every week at least a new video comes out there and it's all about tea. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye guys.